Starting off this countdown, we have Ollie Murs. Singer-songwriter Ollie Murs should have been off of TikTok years ago following a very controversial video that he posted. In the video, he cut the bottom off of a Pringles can so that it was removed completely. He then proceeded to slip it onto his, eggplant, and then asked his girlfriend if she wanted some chips. When she reaches in, well, you can only imagine what she felt, and she pulled out her hand in disgust. I think this video scarred everyone. One person tweeted out saying, "Not even 9 AM and Ollie Murs has ruined my day. Never checking why a celeb is trending again." Other people commented saying that they are scarred for life and that they need help unseeing that video. And I agree. No thank you, that was way too much. In our 9th spot today we have Madonna. Recently Madonna has been posting some weird TikToks that have left her fans confused and unsettled. The TikTok that received the most backlash was posted a couple of days ago just before the 2022 Grammy Awards. In the TikTok, Madonna, who no longer looks like herself or her age, is shown coming closer and closer to the camera while pouting her lips. Now it does appear as if she has a filter on because her eyes look completely gray or glazed over. The comments on this video showcase just how unsettled it made them feel. The top comment reads, "This honestly scared me, not gonna lie." Another commented, "Stay back." A third commented, "It's becoming more than embarrassing at this point." Another, "Who is this? Doesn't look like Madonna." Fans are concerned for Madonna, saying that she's trying too hard to seem youthful to the point that it's scaring them. Coming in at number 8 we have Northwest. Now I'm sure you guys are all aware of the whole Kim Kardashian Kanye West TikTok drama. If not, here's a little recap. Kanye West does not feel comfortable with his 8-year-old daughter on TikTok, whereas Kim said that she's completely fine with North being on TikTok as she supervises it. In response to Kanye calling her out, she said, and I quote, "As the parent who is the main provider and caregiver for our children, I'm doing my best to protect our daughter while also allowing her to express her creativity in the medium that she wishes with adult supervision because it brings her happiness." Now the TikTok account is labeled as North and Kim's account. It's a joint account. But still, some say that she's way too young to be on the platform. I mean, I believe you have to be 13 years or older in order to create an account, and like I said, North is only 8. Not only is TikTok fairly damaging for young influential minds, but also puts them at risk for predators. In our 7th spot today we have Jake Paul. I guess Jake Paul is trying to relive the good old Vine days by having a TikTok account. Let me know in the comments below, are you team Vine or TikTok? Which platform do you like better? Honestly, I'm team Vine. Sorry. Anyways, Jake has posted a number of interesting TikToks. The most recent one being him punching the Rockets mascot at an NBA game. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of Jake Paul, but his TikToks are questionable. Either it's him bragging about his boxing career or making cringy TikToks that aren't funny. However, it looks like he's got a lot of haters on his TikTok. They just want him off the platform for good. In our 6th spot, we have Tana Mongeau, another very controversial content creator and influencer that people want off TikTok, especially after she posted a number of videos that featured herself eating some nasty food combination items, like a hot pickle from a gas station in which she wrapped in a rainbow fruit roll-up and then topped it off with a Taki. You got all the flavors there, spicy, sweet, and salty. I don't know how I feel about that combo though. I think probably be eating that in the bathroom. Anyways, she's also known to just post random crazy videos that make no sense. Like this one. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo's TikTok is filled with the most random videos. From him reacting to viral videos, to dance videos, to cooking videos, to raunchy comedy videos, to pranks. He does it all. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that viral video of him pretending to lose his teeth after eating a corn on the cob attached to a power drill. This dude is just exuding chaotic energy, and a lot of people love making fun of him for it. You either love or you hate his TikTok. But I will say, there's been a number of times he has embarrassed the heck out of himself on TikTok, but it doesn't seem like he cares one bit. In our 4th spot, we have Will Smith. Will Smith is currently trending following the incident at the Oscars in which he slapped Chris Rock. We've all seen the clip by now. It's been talked about by crazy, okay? Well, following that incident, people are super against Will. In fact, he has been losing, but then also gaining social media followers. But the TikToks Will has posted in the past no longer look good on him, especially ones featuring his wife Jada and him simping over her, as people like to call it. People are arguing that Will's actions at the Oscars highlight toxic masculinity. Will made it seem like the slap was done out of his love for Jada, but still, violence in any form is not okay. So people think Will should be banned from TikTok, or at least have some of his TikToks that don't paint a good picture of him removed or privated. In our third spot today, we have Howie Mandel. What's worse than that Madonna video? Howie Mandel reacting to the Madonna video. We see the video of Madonna playing in the background with the mini Howie in front reacting to it. As Madonna's lips come closer to Howie, he says, "Oh stop, that tickles. Okay Elmo, settle down." It's pretty unsettling, and he has a lot of unsettling videos. Like the video of him stitching himself with a video of Doja Cat. They're both just too close for comfort, you know? And of course, how could I not mention the frozen yogurt TikTok, where we see a woman eating frozen yogurt off of Howie's bald head. Okay, that's enough for anyone to lose their appetite. In our second spot today, we have Bella Thorne. Over the years, Bella Thorne has completely changed. She went from being an innocent Disney star to posting exclusive content to creating and directing a porn movie, which no shame on her, she's just coming to terms with herself and who she wants to be. Now, Bella also just posts the most random TikToks, a lot with other adult content creators. In the videos, you can see them getting intimate and touchy. But then you have random videos like this, where Bella is using her own song as the audio, and the ending takes an interesting turn, to say the least. A lot of comments are saying that she needs to calm down and that her TikToks are messy and that she's trying too hard. And in our number one spot today, we have James Charles. First off, James is making headlines again as he was seen attending the 2022 Grammys. People are outraged that he was invited due to his controversial past and accusations of grooming multiple underage boys. People were tweeting saying things like this, and I quote, "James Charles being at the Grammys this year tells me everything I need to know about their invitations." Another person expressed their confusion over a literal predator being there instead of artists like Ariana Grande. Those were their words. Anyways, people are coming for James and they want legal actions to be taken against him. One person commented, "How is James going everywhere but jail?" So you can imagine why people want him off of TikTok. Not just for his past, but also because they say his TikToks are cringy. Literally, James gets hate on every TikTok he shares, saying that they are absolutely horrendous and making fun of his dancing. Others argue that TikTok is another platform that lets him reach out to underage boys. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments below, do you have TikTok?
Celebrity talk show fails that never should have aired. Do you remember watching any of these failed talk shows? Which one do you think deserves another chance, and which talk show do you think should have never even been considered? I want to hear all of your celeb talk show thoughts in the comments. At number 10, The Queen Latifah Show. Dana Owens, known professionally as Queen Latifah, is a rapper and actor born in New Jersey. Latifah has appeared in Last Holiday, Taxi, and most recently The Equalizer. Unlike most of the celebs on this list, the actor actually gave the talk show hosting gig 2 tries, both of which did not last long. Both shows shared the same name, and the original The Queen Latifah Show ran from September 1999 to August 2001. Definitely a better run than most shows I'm going to mention. The original was described as the Dear Abby for the hip-hop generation. The series covered various topics and included interviews with both celebrities and non-celebrities. Then, more than a decade after it was cancelled, the Queen was back. The revamped Queen Latifah Show debuted September 2013 and was even renewed in January 2014 for a second season, but that's about it. In November 2014, Sony Pictures TV cancelled the Queen Latifah Show due to declined ratings. I don't think the show was horrible, I just don't think it had anything special to compete with other talk shows. It unfortunately didn't work out for Queen Latifah once again, but her talk show run was still far better than the people I have coming up next. Number 9, The Wanda Sykes Show. Wanda Sykes is a comedian, actress, and writer. In 2004, Entertainment Weekly named Sykes as one of the 25 funniest people in America. Fox debuted The Wanda Sykes Show in November 2009. Comedian Keith Robinson co-starred as her sidekick. The show was very meh from what I gather, and the 50% rating it has on Rotten Tomatoes only confirms my theory. Brian Lowry from Variety said, "The Wanda Sykes Show is off to a decidedly shaky start. The program opens by flashing a big W on the screen, which presumably stands for Wanda. Yet after this first hour, one might as easily be tempted to read it as Y." The show stayed on the air for only one season, and in May of 2012, Fox made the announcement, and this left the network with no original late-night programming for the first time since 1994. I think executives at Fox only saw her comedic talent, but didn't think about the fact that hosting a show is a whole nother skill set on its own. Unfortunately, Sykes just doesn't possess what a good host needs. The show failed to get people laughing, but that doesn't mean Sykes herself stopped bringing on the laughs. Luckily, the show didn't ruin her comedic reputation, and the roles kept on rolling in. She may be a crappy talk show host, but most recently she was working on the show Blackish, and it went far better than the Wanda Sykes show. Number 8. Cocktails with Khloe. I think Khloe Kardashian has the most recent failed talk show of the list. Kardashian rose to fame on the reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians along with her sisters and mother. Cocktails with Khloe premiered on the FYI cable channel on January 20th, 2016. The series hosted by Kardashian lasted only 14 episodes before getting the top. Unlike the other shows on the list, Khloe's ratings weren't too bad. They were nothing to write home about, but they weren't nearly as bad as others. Apparently, the real reason Cocktails with Khloe didn't get a chance at a second season was due to chaos behind the scenes. Insiders claim there was no agreement on the direction of the show, and Kardashian was not popular with staff. A source said it was chaos. Nobody agreed with anybody else about what it should be or what direction it should be going. Another source added, Khloe's used to being on a smash hit show and being able to call the shots, but it's not like that on a small show. Eventually, everyone had enough. It's too bad because considering the medium response to the first season, it really had potential to become something big for Khloe. She had guests on like John Legend and Chrissy Teigen, Kanye West, and Cardi B, but despite having the ingredients for a good talk show, it could have used a few more minutes in the oven. At number 7, Thick of the Night. He was a Canadian actor known best for his time on Growing Pains. Long before his Growing Pain days, Thick hosted a successful Canadian daytime talk show called The Alan Thicke Show from 1980 to 1983. Since he was doing so well in Canada with his show, he was offered another talk show, this time in the United States. Thick of the Night was intended as a rival to The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, and it debuted in September 1983. The show had a major publicity campaign, but despite this, critics were not kind to its unorthodox blend of stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, and talk show. The format did end up becoming the staple of late-night talk shows, but at the time it just wasn't what people wanted to see. Thick of the Night also featured musical performances, including the television debut of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. As the season progressed, more and more stations dropped the show. Mid-season, it was revamped to more closely resemble Thicke's original talk show in Canada, but they were too late. Unfortunately, the show couldn't be saved, and it was cancelled in June 1984. The late actor said, "Thick of the Night was supposed to challenge Johnny Carson. They said it couldn't be done, and I was the guy they chose to prove it. The show was ahead of its time. It should have been on in 2084 when all of us are gone." I do think Thick was ahead of his time, but it ended up being a good thing it got cancelled, with him landing his role on Growing Pains just a year later. Number 6, The Megan Mullally Show. Megan Mullally, actor, comedian, and singer, is known for her iconic role as Karen Walker on Will and Grace. She was given her own talk show, The Megan Mullally Show, which debuted in September 2006 and was cancelled not long after in January 2007. I will say the logo for her show is my fave out of them all, but having a good logo was about all she had. Her very first episode featured actor Will Ferrell wearing nothing but his briefs and Jenny McCarthy, but even still the show did not generate the ratings that were hoped for. The ratings for her show are in the middle somewhere. I think it was less flat out bad and more underwhelming. Fox News called the show a bit dull and ordinary and at times forced. Once again, we're learning that hosting a show is a talent, and no matter how funny or liked a person is, it doesn't mean they'll thrive in that position. Another thing Fox News said about the talk show was that viewers were disappointed to find out that Megan is nothing like Karen in real life. That's one thing about people being fans of actors. Do you really like the person playing the character, or is it the fictional character you're drawn to? One viewer of the show said Megan Mullally was never funny. Karen Walker was, thanks to the writers and Megan for doing a fantastic job delivering what was written. Therefore, the show should have been the Karen Walker Show. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm sure it was a bummer for Mullally when it was cancelled, but then again, it's because she did such a good job as Karen that the ratings were so low. At number 5, Lopez Tonight. The comedian and actor has had a successful career in Hollywood, so successful that at one point he had a scripted sitcom on ABC titled George Lopez. After the show wrapped up 6 seasons, Lopez was offered his own talk show called Lopez Tonight. The actor became the first Mexican American to host a late-night talk show on an English language network in the United States. Lopez Tonight made its debut on TBS in November 2009. The first episode had guests Kobe Bryant and Eva Longoria, as well as a special appearance from Ellen DeGeneres. The show aired Monday through Thursday at midnight following Conan. Despite his success in his self-titled sitcom, Lopez just couldn't stay on air. Actually, Conan is partially the reason Lopez Tonight had such a short run. In 2010, Conan O'Brien announced that he'd signed with TBS to create his own late-night talk show that would be premiering at 11 p.m. Unfortunately, Lopez just couldn't compete with the ratings from Conan, and since they were playing back-to-back on the same network, they could really compare the success of each show. After a year of airing Conan, TBS announced in 2011 that Lopez Tonight would be cancelled, with the final episode airing the following night. Conan went on to be successful for over a decade, airing its last season in 2021. I wonder if the results would differ had Lopez landed that 11 o'clock spot. At number 4, Kris. Kris Jenner is maybe one of the most powerful powerful women in Hollywood when it comes to getting stuff done. I truly believe that the Kardashian family would have been old news after a year or two if it weren't for Kris. She has taken the Kar-Jenner women and turned them into some of the biggest names in Hollywood without an ounce of acting or musical talent, I might add. Jenner once said that it was her dream to have a talk show like Oprah. Since she's Kris Jenner, it was a pretty easy dream to make happen. Fox gave Jenner her own show called Kris in 2013. Kris only aired in 6 metro areas, and she pulled out all the stops for big ratings, including bringing on members of her family. Unfortunately, Jenner is not as good at hosting a talk show as she is at doing business. In a last-ditch effort to renew her show, she had on her son-in-law at the time, Kanye West, to release the first ever photos of his daughter, Northwest. Unfortunately for Kris, it wasn't enough, and the show was cut after just 1 season. Following the season, Jenner said, "I had so much fun this summer making my dreams come true." After the show was cancelled, a source said viewers just tuned out and genuinely don't want to see her on daytime television in any format. A bit harsh, but the review matches the ratings. On IMDb, from 500 reviews, the show sits at 1.3 out of 10. Although it didn't work out, at least Kris can add it to the list of things she's done and get back to reality TV. Number 3. Bethany. Like many other reality stars and television personalities, Bethany Frankel wears a lot of hats. Probably most recognizable from her time on The Real Housewives of New York City, she has written self-help books and is the founder of the Skinny Girl lifestyle brand. Frankel has quick wit and was self-appointed as the queen of too much information. That, plus her being a standout on Real Housewives, seemed like the perfect recipe for a juicy new talk show. Her show was called Bethany, and it debuted 10 years ago in 2012. Unfortunately for Frankel, fans just couldn't quite get into it, and the show was cancelled after only 1 season. Bethany has a 1-star rating on IMDb, and despite her big name guests, viewers weren't sticking around. After her show was cancelled, Frankel herself admitted in her blog that the role of a talk show host wasn't the best fit for her. She wrote, "Unlike my time on Bravo, I felt diluted, filtered, and somewhat constricted. I'm a free spirit. I'm more comfortable in my natural surroundings and in a setting where I'm surrounded by crazy, where anything goes and where I can be authentically me." So basically, she misses the drama she was able to cause on Real Housewives. Honestly, the two shows are totally different worlds, and Bethany proves that not just anyone can make a good fit for an interviewer. Number 2. The Magic Hour. Irvin Johnson Jr., also known as Magic Johnson, is a former professional basketball player. Johnson is widely considered the greatest point guard of all time. He played 13 seasons in the NBA, and in 1998, Johnson received his own talk show called The Magic Hour. Unfortunately, the show did not live up to its name, and soon after it debuted, it began generating negative reviews from critics. They cited Johnson's apparent nervousness as a host and his overly complimentary tone with his celebrity guests. I mean, considering the man is famous for playing basketball, I don't know why they would think to put him on his own show to host. Johnson was also criticized for his lack of chemistry with his sidekick, comedian Craig Shoemaker. He was quickly replaced with Steve White, with little change when it came to chemistry. One vocal critic of The Magic Hour was Howard Stern, often mocking the NBA player's diction and hosting abilities. In an attempt to confront Stern and boost ratings, they invited him on The Magic Hour. It didn't go well, with Stern just criticizing Johnson further, but this time on his show. The episode with Stern did increase viewership for a time, but ratings quickly dropped off. After 8 weeks, the show was cancelled. Johnson blamed the demise of the show on a lack of support from black celebrities who refused or were unable to appear on his show. Johnson said their managers and agents keep them off the black shows. Sorry, Johnson, but I think the show just sucked. And at number 1, The Chevy Chase Show. The actor rose to fame after becoming a key cast member in the first season of Saturday Night Live, where his recurring weekend update segment became a staple of the show. Things only rose from there after starring in National Lampoon's Vacation and the other movies that followed. He's had no shortage of roles over the years, but one venture he took back in the 90s did not pay off. In 1993, Chase was given his own talk show on Fox called The Chevy Chase Show. Unfortunately, his comedic charm did not translate into the talk show format, and the show was pulled faster than any of the shows on this list. The Chevy Chase Show was cut simply because it was bad. Advertisers had been promised that the show would bring in between 5 and 6 million viewers nightly. The show ended up producing much less than that, averaging fewer than 3 million viewers, and it was down to 2 during the show's final weeks. On Rotten Tomatoes, Chase's show has a big old 0% rating, and critics did not hold back. Jay Boyer of the Orlando Centennial said, "A flop sweatfest, if there ever was one, was so pathetic that Chase was reduced to making lame jokes about his own demise, and no one was laughing." Vern Gay of the Newsday said, "Viewers may recall a vomit scene in the premiere, a pitch-perfect comment on the show itself. Luckily, Chase had his previous works to save face and keep up his career, but the Chevy Chase Show was a certified fail." That was the top 10 celebrity talk show fails that should have never aired.
And Justin Bieber. In 2013, the singer went on Zach Galifianakis' hilarious show Between Two Ferns. Like other other celebrity interviews in the Funny or Die series, this one features vaguely offensive questions, awkward pauses, and snide remarks. Zach starts off by saying, "It's really exciting talking to you, especially in the middle of your public meltdown." He refers to Bieber as a 7-year-old and asks, "In the recording studio, do you ever think, what if I don't make something crappy? And you've had 3 hairstyles. What's next for your career?" Despite the absurd questions, both of them hardly crack so much as a smile, and you could cut the tension in the room with a knife. But the sit-down also turns violent when Zach gets so fed up with Bieber's antics that he takes off his belt to spank him 3 times, insisting that he had it with their punk attitude. He then apologizes and says, "I don't really think spanking is a good thing, but you're not a that's the point. You're not a so I can hit a grown man with a belt." Overall, this was one of the best episodes of Between Two Ferns. The show has given us some of the funniest and most cringeworthy moments that exist on the internet. There's just something about the low production value and the increasingly personal and offensive questions that get thrown at celebrities. The best part is that everyone's in on it, but you would never be able to tell. Number 9, Jim Carrey. The 2017 New York Fashion Week Harper's Bazaar Icons Party was an event that plenty of famous faces attended, and Jim Carrey wound up popping in and making an appearance during the event. Eventually, he was interviewed, and what followed was something so hilarious yet uncomfortable that you just have to watch it for yourself. The interview seemed like it was getting off to a good start, but it didn't take long for Carrey to give a response that no one saw coming. When he was asked about why he came, he said, "There's no meaning to any of this, so I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am. You've got to admit it's pretty meaningless." He then started walking in circles around the presenter, who was clearly in shock and maybe even having an existential crisis. She then asked Carrey if he was an icon, and he said, "Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibly that we can come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air." The reporter looked at him like he was crazy, but viewers ended up praising the actor for his response, given that he turned what could have been a regular self-promotional interview into a chance to give his perspective on the absurdity of our existence. In many ways, it wasn't just funny, it was actually refreshing. Number 8, David Letterman. Madonna stopped by The Late Show with David Letterman on March the 31st in 1994 for what would become a headline-making interview. Her contempt for him was apparent from the moment that she sat down, as she wasn't entertaining any of his sexual innuendos and suggestive comments. The drama that followed eventually made it the most censored episode in American TV network talk show history. The pop star came out ready to shock the world, cigar in hand and filter completely gone. Letterman isn't easily phased, but in 1994, Madonna managed to make him just the slightest bit uncomfortable. A minute into her appearance, and he began teasing her about her sex life and asking her to kiss men in the audience, and she responded by calling him sick and launched into a 20-minute long rant that was hardly PG. In fact, she said the F word a total of 14 times. Not only that, but the singer refused to get up from her seat once the interview was over and forced him to continue speaking to her in subsequent segments. But between the two of them, it's hard to say who was more out of line. It wasn't until 1996 that she revealed why the episode was so messy. She said, "The way he introduced me was derogatory, so my whole thing was, okay, if that's how you want to play it, you cannot beat me at this game." Well, it's safe to say that she certainly did. Number 7, Kourtney Kardashian. For the Keeping Up with the Kardashian star, one of the biggest live TV fails came with her interview in 2016, just weeks after Kim Kardashian's horrific Paris robbery. In case you need a reminder, Kim was held hostage while her apartment was ransacked of $10 million worth of jewelry. Shortly afterwards, Kourtney appeared on an Australian program called The Today Show to talk about her latest project. Before the hosts attempted to turn the conversation towards Kim, they said, "We're very sympathetic and horrified. So we were wondering, how is everyone going? How is Kim doing?" But right away, they realized that that was the wrong thing to say. Kourtney's face went blank and she was clearly frustrated. She said, before looking at someone else in the room, most likely her publicist. An awkward silence ensued and she looked beyond the camera, muttering something under her breath about having someone come in. The presenters were confused at first before they realized what was going on. David Campbell asked, "Hello, Kourtney, have we lost you?" before the silence became unbearable and her face disappeared off screen. He was obviously less than impressed by the loss of communication and said, "I think she's totally blanking me on that question. She could just say her sister is fine." As for Kourtney, she blamed the whole thing on a bad connection, but fans thought it was a hilarious way to avoid answering the question. Number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. When music legend Celine Celine Dion went on The Ellen Show in 2007, she probably didn't expect to have an extremely uncomfortable interview. The songstress was not in the least bit amused when she got criticized for the fact that her son had long hair. Ellen was trying to be funny when she brought up a photo of Renee Charles, who was 6 years old at the time. The picture showed a photo of a cute little boy with shoulder-length hair. Ellen obviously thought that that was great material for a joke, so she asked Celine if she was forgetting to cut her son's hair, but she did not expect her to take the question to heart the way she did, and suddenly the tension in the room was so thick. Celine clearly felt attacked, and she asked Ellen if she had a problem with it. At this point, you could tell that she'd probably gotten that same line of questioning from countless other people who made it their business to inquire about her son's appearance. She said, "Some people shave the head of their children, and people say, oh, isn't that terrible? Well, I don't even cut my son's hair, and they say, oh my god, when is she going to cut her son's hair, you know? Whatever I will do, I won't please everyone." She explained that it was he who made his own decision to keep his hair long, but Ellen had already sensed that she'd made a mistake and swiftly changed the topic to Celine's music after the uncomfortable moment. Number 5, Cara Delevingne. In the middle of a promotional tour for her film Paper Towns, the model appeared on Good Day Sacramento and went on to have one of the most awkward interviews ever. First off, the anchors called her Carla instead of Cara. Then they proceeded to ask her whether or not she had read the John Green book on which the movie is based, and why she didn't seem more excited to be on the show despite making millions of dollars from the movie. But Cara was clearly not having it and pretty much refused to respond to their questions. Instead, she took a bit more of a sarcastic approach, but the anchors pushed right back and almost seemed to be mocking her the whole time. They said, "You do seem a bit irritated, maybe it's just us." But when Cara agreed, the host said, "We'll let you take a little nap and maybe get a Red Bull," essentially kicking her off the show. Despite being tired after the final premiere for her film the night before, Cara soldiered on at first, but the show was clearly trying to embarrass her because she wasn't going to play ball with the patronizing questions. When the interview first came out, there was a bit of a debate over who started the awkwardness, as some people felt that Cara was acting entitled by refusing to answer those questions in an agreeable manner, but most would agree that she was simply having an off day and must have been exhausted from all the traveling and promotional interviews. Number 4, Quentin Tarantino. During a press conference for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a female journalist asked the legendary director something that seemed to set him off. She brought up Margot Robbie's character Sharon Tate and inquired about her lack of lines in the film. She said, "Quentin, you've put Margot Robbie, a very talented actress, in your films. She was with Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. She was in I, Tonya, and yet you haven't really given her many lines in this movie. I'm guessing that was a very deliberate choice on your part, and I was just wondering, why was that? Why don't we hear her speaking very much?" The question would have been an easy one to answer, as there were so many characters in the film, and naturally not all of them could get the same amount of screen time. But Quentin snapped back and refused to answer. He said, "Well, I just reject your hypothesis." Then Margot jumped in and seemed to save the moment. She said, "I think the moments that I got on screen gave an opportunity to honor Sharon and the likeness. I don't think it was intended to delve deeper. I think the tragedy ultimately was a loss of innocence, and to really show those sides of her, I think could be adequately done without speaking. I did feel like I got a lot of time to explore the character, even without dialogue specifically. When you watch the clip for yourself, there's no doubt that Margot definitely made the whole thing less awkward." Number 3, Jimmy Kimmel. Fans love to look back at a viral video from 2015 when Nicole Kidman was a guest on Jimmy Kimmel Live. The host starts off by saying, "I don't know if you remember this, but we've met before." In response, Nicole says, "Oh, I remember." But this is where the story gets interesting. Jimmy recalled walking around New York City when a friend called him up to tell him that Nicole was with him and was hoping to meet up. As he continues to ramble on, she stops him in his tracks and confesses that she used to like him. Jimmy becomes visibly shocked and flustered while saying, "Wait, what? What are you talking about? Did I date Nicole Kidman? Did we go on a date?" The shock and embarrassment did not stop coming, because then Nicole recalled the time that they met and said that he barely paid attention to her when she finally came over. Thanks to TikTok, the video recently gained traction, and it never fails to make people laugh and think, what if? Because it sounds like these two could have almost dated if Jimmy had only known that Nicole was interested in him. To be fair though, he did seem pretty shocked when he heard the story from her perspective, so it's likely he had no idea how she felt at the time. Years later, fans still rave about this hilarious story and say that it's a perfect example of a missed opportunity. Well, I guess we'll never know if they would have ended up together. Number 2, Julia Fox. Yes, a large part of Julia Fox's fame came from dating Kanye, but it was a viral clip of her saying the words "uncut gems" that launched her into meme status and made her the icon she is today. It all started when she went on the Call Her Daddy podcast and discussed her relationship with Kanye and her movie role. She said, "I was Josh Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems." She wasn't saying anything out of the ordinary, but she went viral viral because of the way she said the film's title as Uncut Gems. And then suddenly it seemed like everyone hopped on that audio and wanted to make their own videos mocking her accent. Cara Delevingne, Shay Michelle, Miranda Sings even hopped on the trend. Julia eventually acknowledged the online jokes and posted a comment saying, "OMG, I was stoned, leave me alone." The actress gave the world yet another hilarious soundbite thanks to an interview that she gave at the 2022 Oscars, where she was asked almost condescendingly about who did her strong eye makeup that she was wearing to the event. In response, Julia says, "I actually did it myself, yeah," and then her voice trails off into nothing. And of course, it wasn't long before TikTok got a hold of that audio and made it go viral. So far, over 130,000 people have used it. Many of them have recreated the iconic interview moment or used it as a way to joke about mistakes that they've made before. And coming in at number 1, Tom Cruise. The couch jump on the Oprah Winfrey Show in May of 2005 is one of the most memorable moments in talk show history. The actor was talking to Oprah about his new relationship with Katie Holmes, with whom he eventually married a year later. As soon as he came on the show, there was a loud cheer and applause from the audience, particularly women screaming their lungs out. The actor was left blushing, and soon, rather than sitting on the sofa, he sat down on the floor, pulled victory laps, and later at one point even jumped on the sofa. Tom couldn't hold back his happiness as he jumped on the couch, punched the floor, and paced around before confessing the reason for his uncontrollable happiness. Oprah was supposed to interview him for his then upcoming film War of the Worlds, but she was left stunned. At one point she said, "What happened to you?" To which Tom said, "I'm in love." It was during this couch jumping interview that he made his relationship with Katie Holmes official after months and months of speculation. The actor confessed his love for her, but he went overboard with his excitement, pulling off some crazy antics during the interview. His behavior was not only over the top, but some felt it was actually extremely unprofessional, and viewers immediately started sympathizing with Oprah, because despite being a talented host with years of TV experience, the situation was clearly out of her depth. Had the interview been released today, Tom would have been launched into meme status. So what was the craziest talk show moment? Let me know in the comments below.
Starting off at number 10, Logan Paul. Of course, I'm including him on this list, so I figured get the lowest hanging fruit out of the way to start, you know? Like just say it and then we're all moving on kind of thing, you know? Now some will argue he's a YouTuber, but prior to that he was a Vine star, so he's also got a podcast which, although is on YouTube, is also available on other platforms. And he's boxing Floyd Mayweather. Like, are you kidding me? One of the greatest of all time. YouTubers do not do that. I'm a YouTuber. I make YouTube videos. He's boxing Floyd Mayweather. That's next level. So which country is he banned from? Well, I think we all know. And although he's clearly moved on from his old antics, unfortunately, what has happened, and I'm not sure the country of Japan will ever be willing to forgive him for his actions. For those of you unaware, Logan had filmed and uploaded footage of a deceased man who had taken his own life while Logan was vlogging in a national park. Aside from this, he was also seen breaking a handful of laws, traffic violations, destruction of property, and interference with business operations, as well as plenty of others. Now technically, he was never given an official ban from the country. There was a change.org petition for it though, and it's believed the second he steps foot in their country, the authorities would arrest him. That's almost like the next best thing aside from a ban. It's not you can't come in, it's you can come in if you want, but the second you do, we'll arrest you. But I mean, it's your choice. Come in if you want. We're not stopping you. Number 9, Snoop Dogg. Sure, Snoop is a rapper, but he's become so much more than that. In pop culture, he's an icon for the Devil's Lettuce, and he's even an investor in Triller, which is apparently now putting on boxing matches. I don't know. Snoop has been able to stay relevant since he came into the spotlight in the 90s, something a lot of people haven't been able to do. That being said, his brand of always being high somewhat came back to bite him, as he is indefinitely banned from the country of Norway. Or so we thought. So back in 2012, on his way to perform at a music festival in Norway, Snoop was detained at the airport, searched, and caught with a few grams of the good. This unfortunately left him with a very large fine and an indefinite ban, which would then be turned into a 2-year ban. Although the ban has since been lifted, I don't think Snoop has any interest in going to countries which won't allow him to be, well, you know, him. At number 8, we got Brittany Pettibone. For those of you unaware, Brittany here is a very vocal political activist, YouTuber, and author whose beliefs to some are deemed very extreme. Back in 2018, she was banned along with 2 others on this list for trying to enter Britain. Pettibone, who is married to Martin Sellner, which we'll cover later on, clearly aligns with a lot of his beliefs, which you guys will see why it's an issue to some. Either way, at the time of their ban, an official who anonymously spoke with Reuters explained they were banned on the grounds that their, I quote, presence in the UK was not conducive to the public good. A friend of theirs, Lauren Southern, who they were actually planning to meet, was also turned away, and taking to Twitter explained she was, I quote, officially banned from UK for racism. Pettibone was also expected to interview Tommy Robinson, who was the former leader of a far-right group. On top of this, the 3 were expected to make a speech at a park remark in which authorities felt would incite, I quote, tensions between local communities. But more on those two in just a little bit. At number 7, we got Martha Stewart. In a league of her own, Martha truly did change the game. Although she's known for baking and cooking, it seems Martha got caught up with some legal troubles when she was copying and involved with insider trading. Selling a stock and avoiding a hefty loss the day before the stock would drop about 16%, it would be determined she knew something the public didn't, and after a highly publicized trial, would be sentenced to serve a 5-month prison term as well as a 5-month house arrest term. This was in 2004, but fast forward to 2008, and the UK is refusing her entry into the country because they felt her previous crime was quite a serious one. More specifically, lying to the government left an uneasy feeling in the authorities' gut, I guess, so they figured why even bother letting her in the first place. While trying to get her visa to give a speech and do some business, she was refused due to, I quote, serious criminal offenses abroad. Still, she kept it 100 and, she didn't snitch, so that's why her and Snoop Dogg had that baking show together. Is that still a show? I don't think it even is, but at one point they had a show together. Now at number 6, Leah C. One of the most recent to be banned from a country, C, who is originally from Russia, was recently deported, and as far as I'm concerned, when you're deported from a country, that usually comes with a ban. At least in most countries I know. Given how this happened just a week ago, it's unclear where the country of Bali stands with C, who was deported for painting on a surgical mask and pretending it was the real thing. Alongside US-based YouTuber Josh Paler Lynn, the two uploaded clips of them walking into a supermarket with Lynn wearing a real mask and C with face paint on, if you will. After the clip caught the attention of local authorities, they were detained and after being tested for COVID-19, deported from the country, with a member of the government explaining, I quote, foreigners who don't respect the laws and regulations in Indonesia are facing deportation sanctions. At number 5, we got Martin Sellner, the husband of Brittany Pettibone, who came in at number 8. Sellner also got a ban from the UK for his extreme right views and beliefs. Although he was originally denied entry back in 2018 for the same reasons his wife was detained, he most recently received a ban back in June of 2019 to the United States. Authorities started investigating Sellner in regards to being linked to the Christchurch shooting. It's believed the shooter actually donated about $1,500 to Sellner's organization, which has led to him being banned from the UK indefinitely. As of now, it seems he had absolutely no connection with the incident, and he's denied any involvement. However, authorities still conducted a search on his properties, which would later be deemed illegal by a judge. Now at number 4, Paris Hilton. Bet you guys weren't expecting her on here. Back in 2010, she pled guilty to 2 misdemeanor charges in Las Vegas for being in possession of some booger sugar. You guys know, like the nose candy, the white powder. We're talking about coke and not the drink. She was given a year-long probation stemming from her charge, and a month after being given said sentence, she tried to go to Japan, which I'm surprised the United States didn't care and just said, leave the country if you want. But it seems Japan did. The country has a strict law in regards to allowing foreigners on probation into their country, and it seems Paris checked off all the boxes. After being detained at the airport for 6 hours, she was refused entry into the country and sent back to LA. Prior to boarding the plane home, she told reporters, I quote, I'm going back home and I look forward to coming back to Japan in the future. I'm really tired. Which I could totally see that being in an episode of The Simple Life. Some of you guys may remember the show with, Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton. Maybe I'm just old now, I don't know, but I could so see Paris being like, I'm really tired. At number 3, we got Roosh V. Now this guy is known for having some crazy thoughts and beliefs. Much like others on this list, he's got extremely right-wing views, and it seems like the UK just ain't about that. Roosh V is the king of it all, accused of being anti-Semitic, a misogynist, and even promoting the idea of being able to force oneself upon another to be legal on private properties, although he claimed the latter was meant to be satirical. So if that gives you guys any indication of, this kind of guy, who he is, there's that. Roosh's views and beliefs have not only gotten him a ban from the UK, but at one point it seems he was almost banned from Canada as well. And I remember John Tory actually tweeting out that he does not want Roosh coming to Toronto when he was going to do a tour, I think in Toronto and Montreal. He wasn't allowed to come to the country, so. Coming to number 2, we got Lauren Southern. Like Sellner and Pettibone, Southern was also denied entry in the UK when she tried meeting them back in 2018. However, she's also been banned from Australia, who denied her a visa when she applied for one back in July of 2018. That would be sorted out after she would receive the correct visa and would go on a little tour. Southern, a Canadian, is known for having far-right beliefs, with some comparing her to white supremacists. Although Australia got sorted, she had to cancel her New Zealand tour. After having issues finding a venue to speak at, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said New Zealand is hostile to the views of the speakers and, I quote, I think you'll see from the reaction they've had from New Zealanders that their views are not those that are shared by this country, and I'm quite proud of that. Although she never received a full ban, it was advised that she didn't come to the country, so I think that's kind of like a threatening ban. And in at number 1, we got Julian Blanc, an American pickup artist, apparently, This man was banned from the UK after he was being accused of promoting unwanted advances, I guess I'll say. It's believed his visa to enter the country was rejected, and a petition with over 150,000 signatures asking for him to be barred from the country clearly caught someone's attention. The same month, he was forced to cut short an Australian tour after protests led to his visa being cancelled. Scott Morrison, the Australian immigration minister, clearly understood the public's outrage, explaining, I quote, "This guy wasn't putting forward political ideas, he was putting forward that was derogatory to women and those values of our horde in this country."